one that's like ear height, but I guess I can scooch down a bit. Let me see the camera. Hi there, my name's Ashley. I'm 26 years old, raising 2 children in New Jersey, where I was born and raised myself. On February 13th, 1993, I was born to 2 immigrant parents in the middle of a snowstorm. My mom told me that my dad actually tried to hold off on driving her to the delivery room to see if they could wait out the storm. My mom couldn't wait, and the snowstorm wasn't going anywhere, so off they went. After hours of labor, my mom was told she wasn't progressing fast enough. Sometime after 5 in the morning, I was delivered earthside via C-section. When it was time to leave the hospital, me and my mom went to stay with her mom in Brooklyn, New York to recover. I would go on to spend a lot of time there in that Brooklyn apartment where my grandparents lived. My parents, they did their best to provide for me and my brother, but they struggled with their own inner battles. My mom with her mental health, and my dad struggling with substance abuse since he was about 13 years old. My home life with them was chaotic and toxic. There was a lot of fighting and broken things. I suppose I always had everything I needed, but I was a highly sensitive child, and the chaos and the anger was harmful to me, as it would be for any child. So I spent a lot of time with my grandparents, since birth really. They brought me stability and love when my parents couldn't. Weekends, school breaks, and summer vacations were spent with them. My grandparents taught me what family dinners and home-cooked meals were like. They taught me my manners and how to make my bed, even though I'm still not as tidy as my grandmother wishes. They took me to the park often and to their home country where I spent many summers away from the chaos at home. They taught me the value of $1. I watched them work really, really hard to create the life they lived out of nothing, literally nothing. They were my angels. They were my lifelines. When I was around 12 years old, my parents split, which then began the first of many, many times I would move from home to home. When I was 13, my grandparents would retire and move away to Portugal. I was devastated and felt alone, but I did my best to hide it. I hid my pain behind my hair and held it tight inside my body so no one would ever know how much it all hurt. I was always a little overweight, and it was around this age when I began to hide my body inside of big baggy tees. Things at home would take a turn for the worst for a few years as my mother adjusted to being a single mom. I would bounce from home to home between my mom and my dad, moving at least once a year. As many times as I moved, I refused to change schools because I knew if I lost my friends, my life would entirely fall apart. In my perpetual state of limbo, they were my only form of stability left. My friends, for the most part, stayed the same. I was never really able to find a safe place to plant my roots, so my friends became my home. I don't think they ever really knew how much their friendships saved me in those times. There have been a lot of moments in my life when I just wanted to die, but I never thought of being the one to actually harm myself. Had my friends been removed from my life at that time, who knows how my life would have turned out. By the time I was 18 years old, I had moved more times than I can count on two hands. I was living at my boyfriend's parents' house, and just as I was starting my first year of college, I began developing the first symptoms of what I would later learn was a lifelong autoimmune disease called Crohn's disease. The way I describe an autoimmune disease basically means my body has become hypervigilant and lives in a constant state of perceived danger, aka flight or fight mode. So my body reacts by my immune system attacking itself, which I've come to believe must be a direct manifestation of my multiple traumas. My body's immune system and stress response has just been attacked so much for so long that it became my new balance. High levels of cortisol in my body was a normal for me. And so that created, along with other factors, chronic inflammation in my body. I was so careless and so disconnected from my body, it would take me 4 months of diarrhea 10 to 15 times a day before I would finally see a doctor. 8 months later and 50 pounds lighter, I was finally given my diagnosis. I was devastated and felt like the world had played a cruel joke on me. I had literally just begun to accept my body and the curves that I had and the extra weight that I always carried, just for it to all melt away in 8 months. I had become so skinny, it was hard to look at in the mirror. And just like that, I was back at square one. I hated my body. I hated the way I looked. I hated how skinny I was. I hated that my bones stuck out. I had spent my life for as long as I could remember trying to do things right. I was going to college, I was working. I tried my best every day at nurturing and nourishing my daughter and keeping a clean, stable environment for her so that she wouldn't experience the same troubles that I did as a child. I prayed a lot, like all the time. I hated lying. I hated littering. I wouldn't kill a fly. I didn't go to parties or do drugs. I kept myself out of trouble my whole life, and I felt like I was being punished to a life sentence in prison without rhyme or reason and no way out. You see, when I was given my diagnosis, I was told right then and there at 19 years old that there was no cure, that my life would be difficult and I would have a lot of ups and downs, but it would be manageable with medication. I was told I might need surgery one day and that surgery might lead to more surgeries, but not to worry because if there was ever a point in time that I couldn't work, I could always just go on disability. I don't know about you, but that sounds like a life sentence in prison to me. Medications I was being prescribed, they didn't help me at all. My condition gradually worsened, yet I still forced myself to go about my daily routine like nothing was wrong. Sometimes I didn't really have an option not to. Still, through the excruciating pain and the endless bathroom breaks, I went to school. I worked 20 some odd hours a week, sometimes more, and I was a full-time single mother. I no longer had the energy to participate in a social life. Outside of work and school and mothering, I became isolated. Everyone around me felt sorry for me, but no one, and I mean no one, knew how to help me. Not even my doctors knew how to help me. I became deeply depressed. I felt helpless and hopeless. It would take me years of failed treatments, hospital trips, and finally an appointment with a surgeon who wanted to remove a part of my intestines out to stop resisting this disease. I finally decided that I had to be the one to take my health into my own hands. I began to educate myself on the disease and began to search for alternative and holistic medicines. I changed my diet drastically and began exercising and practicing stress reduction techniques such as yoga and meditation. 8 years later, I've made friends with my Crohn's, and I now recognize it as a blessing in disguise. It's forced me from hating my body to loving my body, something I never knew I would ever do. I still battle with adverse symptoms from long-term inflammation, but if I could go back and change the past, I wouldn't. This is only a piece of my story that I'm sharing with you. My story starts as far back as my grandmother can remember her grandmother, and I want to tell it all to you one day. I just don't know how yet. A few months back, I made a GoFundMe to support my healing. The goal is to be able to attend a retreat in Bali, Indonesia, to immerse myself within myself. I have never in my entire life been alone with myself. Since my brother was born, I have always had to worry about someone else's needs other than my own. With this retreat, I'll have the opportunity to immerse myself with my fears, my anger, and my pain for 6 days straight, under the guidance of healers and teachers. While I'm there, I'll be able to learn about Balinese culture, their way of life, their religion, and maybe even their language, which I absolutely love to learn about. I really believe this retreat can help me heal from my traumas profoundly, which in turn will help me heal my physical illness too. While I know it isn't the only cause, I believe that my traumas are directly and deeply linked to my autoimmune disease. I believe this retreat can help me face my fears and give myself the uninterrupted time and space needed to work all the way through my traumas, unlike traditional therapy that's broken up into weekly sessions and interrupted by daily life. I thought that I could financially fund myself on my own, but truthfully I can't. And truthfully, I don't know how to ask for help without feeling like I'm wearing a victim badge on my chest. But I'm gonna try. Because if there's any lesson that's repeated in my life over and over again, it's that I never would have survived any of my adversities in life had it not been for the kindness and compassion of others. I graduated high school because my grandmother flew to America when I was 16 years old with a newborn. When my mother kicked me out of her home, I had somewhere to live when I came home from the hospital with that baby because of the compassion of my best friend's mother. That woman gave me her bed to recover from my C-section surgery. I graduated college because my ex's family has helped me raise my daughter for almost 10 years now. I was able to work through high school and college because a woman allowed me to bring my toddler daughter to work for free. When I first became ill with Crohn's disease 8 years ago, my mother showed up to every single appointment and hospital stay. I never had to go through the scariest parts of the disease alone, no matter how broken our relationship might have been. I have had my resilience tested time and time again. While I give myself the credit for doing the work needed to pull through, I will still never say that I did it alone. Never. Every challenge, every adversity I've ever faced has made me more. It may have hurt like hell, it may have stung and left me many scars. Some things I may still be broken about, but I know one of my superpowers is being able to alchemize pain into power. And if given the opportunity to attend this retreat, that's exactly what I'm going to do. I'm gonna take my pain and turn it into power. For the first time in my life, I decided to think of myself and only myself. I decided that I was worth a large investment and a leap of faith, but I didn't know how I was going to financially get there. In October, I had to take a leave from work because of a Crohn's flare, so my income became extremely restricted. I also have a family to take care of. But I also knew I couldn't let myself down. I knew I needed to both find a way to generate extra income and fast, and that I also needed to ask for help. I know that most people don't understand how much Crohn's disease can take away from my life and my ability to help myself day to day, and that's okay. I know on the surface it doesn't look like I need real help rebuilding my life, but I'm not rebuilding anything at all. In fact, I'm still building it. All my life, I have been told that I can't, and I have been taught that I'm incapable. And while I'm older now and I know better, I also know that I can stand in the mirror all day long saying that I can, but subconscious deep programming doesn't always work that way. Sometimes you need deeper forms of therapy than just affirmations. I feel in my heart and my soul that this Bali retreat is where I need to go. A part of me knows this illness was a chance for me to heal in a way I never would have healed had I continued to live my life the way that I did. I've proven myself time and time again over these past 8 years that I can heal myself, but I keep on cycling back to old patterns. It feels like I'm stuck in a vortex sometimes. Someone wise once said that she is a healer who isn't healed yet, and that resonated with me. I know that I became sick with this illness so that I can learn to heal myself, because before I can do any kind of healing to anyone or anything, I need to be able to heal myself. I sold some possessions and was able to collect enough money to make a down payment, but not enough, and time is running out. As I speak, I only have 26 days to come up with $4,400 to fund the rest of my trip. I'm asking you, friend, to support my healing so that I can learn to serve myself properly, so that I may, in turn, learn to serve the world properly. What I ultimately want is to pay the acts of kindness and compassion that I received in my darkest moments and pay them forward. So, here's exactly what I'm asking for. $1,387 for the remaining ticket cost, $650 for childcare expenses while I'm gone, $700 to make sure my bills and basic necessities will be covered from my family while I'm away, $1,000 in airfare, and $600 for 7 extra nights of housing, food, and travel expenses. After the retreat, it's important that I plan to take an extra week completely alone to be able to process all that I went through before I return home to my expected routines. I know it might seem like I'm asking for a lot, but I have so much to give the world. I'm just asking for an opportunity to prove that to myself. Should you choose to donate, I hope that you will consider your donation as an investment in me, a young woman who wants a chance at living her best life and helping others to do the same.